Hi, this is Robert with Cruzbike, and today Jonathan and I are going to be going over a disassembly of a Silvio and packing it in a Sunlite Bike Case. Disassembling and packing a Silvio requires a little bit of mechanical skill, but it's not too hard. But if you have any doubts at all, then it would be wise to have this job done by a local bike shop if you have one nearby. The tools you will need for disassembly are an 8mm wrench, a 3, 4, and 5mm Allen wrench, an 8mm Allen, which is used to take off the non-drive side crank arm. Other cranks may require a different tool to remove, and also a pair of chain pliers if you have them to remove the chain. For this video, we have mobilized the front wheel with a rack bike storage stand. This is the easiest way to do the disassembly of the bicycle for packing. The first thing you'll want to do is make sure that the bike is shifted into the small chain ring and the smallest cog on the cassette. This will make getting the chain off a lot easier. Here we are using a grease pen to mark our position on the boom and slider to make reassembly much easier later on. The first step in the disassembly is to remove the seat cushion and grab a number 3 Allen and the 8mm wrench to remove the seat pan. Once the seat pan is removed, you can go ahead and put the 8mm nuts right back on the bolts for safekeeping. Using the same number 3 Allen wrench that you used for the seat, we're going to loosen the bolts that hold the scissor jack in place. We don't want to take the bolts out all the way, we just want to loosen them until they are just inside the scissor jacks. Push down on the bolts. You might have to wiggle a little bit and the headrest should slide right out of the frame. We're going to need to remove the non-drive side crank arm. This crank uses an 8mm Allen wrench to remove the crank arm. Your cranks might use a different wrench. Make sure you take off the wave washers if there are any and set them aside. Then use your chain tool to unlock the quick link on the chain and remove the chain from the bike, making sure to save the quick link for future use. Shift the rear derailleur up a few clicks, and that will allow you to pull the cables out of the cable stops on the fork. You release the bottom one and then release the top one, and that releases the cable from the fork. Using a number 4 Allen, loosen the ring clamp bolts. Using the same number 4 Allen wrench, remove the bolts from the headset clamps. Once you have removed the handlebars, thread the clamps back into the slider, and that way they will be safe for travel. Loosen and remove the skewer from the front wheel. Reattach the nut to the end of the skewer and set it aside. With a little bit of pressure, remove the front chainstay from the front wheel. Loosen the pivot clamp bolt and very carefully remove the pivot clamp bolt from the fork. Once the pivot clamp bolt is removed, the entire front end can be lifted right off the frame and set aside. Be careful to not kink the cables. The boom, handlebars, and chainstay should be resting at the side of the bike at this time, and now we can remove the rear wheel. Loosen the rear brake caliper and remove the rear wheel from the bike and set it aside. Now we are going to lift the rest of the frame away from the drive wheel, lifting it very carefully, keeping everything in place. Set the drive wheel aside and rest the frame on the floor and you should have the wheels and frame like this ready to pack. In addition, you should have set aside the headrest, skewer, crank arm, chain, and seat. The Cruzbike S30 fits inside the Sunlite Bike Case. This bike case is a hard shell case with lots of padding inside, and it comes with 2 wheel bags to protect your wheels. The first step to packing your bike is to remove the skewer from the rear wheel and set it aside with the other skewer and other loose items. And we're going to put that wheel in the carrying case and set it right on the inside of the lid. I'm going to repeat with the drive wheel, put it in the included bag, and it should rest nice and easy inside the case. Now you want to pick up the chainstay assembly and the frame and pivot it into the case, being careful not to kink any of the cables. The frame will sit with the top side facing the hinged part of the case. Once the frame is inside the case, you're going to want to remove the derailleur. The hanger should pop out. And after that, you're going to place the boom, chainstay, and slider assembly as shown with the chainring towards the hinge side of the case. It should tuck in nice and easily along the side and bottom of the case, and the handlebar should rest right over the frame. You should have plenty of cable housing in order to set this right inside the case. Wrap the derailleur and other loose parts with bubble wrap to make sure everything is protected. Place the headrest on the inside of the case near the top, as shown. You want to turn the fork so it's flat against the foam, as you can see here in the picture. Everything should have a nice orderly fit at this time. The next step is to place the seat upside down, making sure it's nice and cushioned against the boom and any other parts it's contacting, and rest the pads against the back and bottom of the seat as shown. Place your chain and other loose items such as tools, jerseys, or other things you might want to pad it with. Close the case, which should close without a lot of pressure, and simply latch the case closed, making sure nothing is binding or nothing is putting too much pressure. And your Silvio is now ready for travel or storage or shipping. Thank you for watching, and again, if any of these tasks seem too daunting, please make sure you have your Silvio disassembled and packed at a local bike shop near you. Thank you.